Greetings and welcome, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, to another fashionably late review here at Words About Games. Amy here, and today I want to talk to you all about Citizen Sleeper. First of all, I want to give out some general information about the game. Citizen Sleeper is a board game-inspired cyberpunk RPG developed by Jump Over the Age and published by Fellow Traveller, and was released on May 5th, 2022 on PC via Steam, the Epic Game Store, GOG, and the Humble Store, and also on Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X, and Nintendo Switch. At the time of recording, the game is currently also available in Game Pass. According to the game store description, role-playing in the ruins of interplanetary capitalism, live the life of an escaped worker washed up on a lawless station at the edge of an interstellar society. Inspired by the flexibility and freedom of tabletop RPGs, explore the station, choose your friends, escape your past, and change your future. So I think common review parlance is that you're supposed to give a snippet of your overall opinion on a game at the start of a review before saying how much you did or didn't like something at the end. At least I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to tip your hand right at the beginning to keep people in suspense and get you to watch the whole video or whatever. But I want to spend my entire time talking about Citizen Sleeper by simply gushing. It's amazing. Probably at the very least one of my favourite games of the year, if not the outright best I've played thus far, if not one of the best games I've played in the last 5 to 10 years. I also typically refrain from giving ironclad recommendations at any point in my reviews. I'd rather let my reviews about games speak for themselves, rather than issue like a call to action or whatever. But I feel like I'm not seeing enough people talking about Citizen Sleeper on my timeline, and I don't want people to sleep on such a wonderful game. If you like narrative-based, character-driven games, full of incredible writing and meaningful depth, play Citizen Sleeper. Okay, I should probably get to actually reviewing the game now. So, Citizen Sleeper. It's a role-playing game, which is a wholly unhelpful 3-word description of a video game these days. Oh, I feel like I just sounded like a real old woman there, like, back in my day, role-playing game actually meant something. God. That's not what I meant. Stick with me. Like, let's be real. Most games flaunt their RPG mechanics or describe themselves as RPG light or some such. And Citizen Sleeper has stats and you can level up, and there are dialogue options and many, many different endings based on the choices you make with said options. And it's also a game where you can grow a mushroom garden or feed a stray cat or make friends with a vending machine. You awaken as a sleeper, which is a robot with an emulated human mind, essentially a corporate-owned indentured servant with very few, if no rights, maybe at all whatsoever. You've freed yourself and are fleeing from the Essen Arp Corporation and attempting to carve out some kind of life on Erlen's Eye, a space station that's about as close to a free port as you're likely to find, and about as close to a lawless frontier as you're likely to get. It's in exploring the station to find opportunities and necessary resources for survival that Citizen Sleeper hits you with the first of many unfamiliar gameplay mechanics. The truth is, Citizen Sleeper can be overwhelming when you first try to get to grips with its rather unique take on a point-and-click RPG hybrid, but sticking with it for around an hour or so as you learn the ropes rewards you with a truly unique and absolutely enthralling piece of fiction. You've got 3 key resources you need to keep track of, aside from the obvious one in a cyberpunk game set in a futuristic capitalistic nightmare: cash. The first 2 are condition and energy, and they deplete at the end of each day. The latter can be replenished by eating food, and if you let it run out, it'll deteriorate your condition even faster. Your condition acts similarly to a health bar. It can drop if you hurt yourself, but it'll constantly diminish each day thanks to S&OP designing your body to require a specific medicine in order to keep functioning. While you can potentially uncover ways to restore your condition on your own, in the beginning, you're going to need to procure some of this medicine to survive, and that's going to cost you a whole heap of cash. Planned obsolescence, I believe, is the euphemism they use. Your final and perhaps most critical resource are dice. At the beginning of each day, you'll roll a number of 6-sided die. The higher your condition, the more dice you receive on any given day. You use these die for just about everything you do on the Eye, completing jobs for cash, exploring the station, growing precious mushrooms, everything, basically everything. If this all sounds a bit dull or dry, that's because it's very difficult to explain succinctly. Like, the interplay of systems and mechanics probably take longer to explain in a review than they do when you're being taught them in the game. The truth is, it all becomes kind of effortless thanks to some brilliant UI design. But at first I was struggling to get to grips with assigning dice and keeping up my condition and energy, while also working towards completing quests, exploring the station, looking for more opportunities and other characters to interact with. But in truth, that struggle is actually a part of the narrative. As a sleeper who has escaped from the megacorp who owns your servitude, you have no idea what the Eye has in store for you. Your memories are scattered and your very situation is a desperate one. Citizen Sleeper emphasizes this in its writing as you try to survive just one more day in a seemingly hostile environment, but it also emphasizes it in its gameplay mechanics. The game is almost self-consciously aware that the core mechanics themselves and how to get the most out of them are a learning curve, so it bakes that learning curve into its opening story beats, and both the gameplay and narrative emerge stronger because of it. So how do you survive? You make connections. Citizen Sleeper, in the tradition of the best examples of science fiction, has a lot to say about the shitty state we've allowed ourselves to get into. Anyone who has ever had to pay obscene amounts of money for necessary medicine such as insulin will have felt a painful recognition when I talked earlier about buying expensive medicine that is critical to your sleeper's survival. The world of Citizen Sleeper sucks tremendously. It's the capitalism we all currently live under, just advanced a few steps forward, threatening to crush anyone who isn't lucky enough to be born into extreme privilege. Does that sound familiar? And this is where drives come in. As you explore the eye and uncover more and more new locations, you're going to come across the game's main characters. Each of these characters has their own huge, sprawling storylines that you'll follow that allow you to make money or eat or complete some other vital task. But the true reward is in building connections with people, opening up, letting people in, and forming relationships. These drives, these relationships, form the basis of not only the story of the game, but how you survive its seemingly hostile world that's trying its very best to kill you at every opportunity. And I mean, that's how we survive day to day, right now, in a world that frequently feels openly hostile to anybody not lucky enough to be born into extreme privilege. We form relationships, we reach out to each other, and we connect with each other, and we help each other. The writing of these characters is transcendent. Like, this is some of the very best writing I've experienced in a video game for years. How many years? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not going to put a hard number on it. You don't so much meet characters as you meet people. Real, genuine, unique people. At least that's what it feels like. They have motivations, reactions, goals, drives, ambitions, flaws. You only get to know them for a short time, offering you but a glimpse into their lives, but that's all the time you need. Citizen Sleeper evokes an incredible sense of empathy, thanks to just how well it's written. The real reward for completing each step of a drive is the next scene, the next interaction, the next way each character's story is pushed forward. But by diligently completing these drives, you're able to push past the game's own core gameplay systems. At the beginning of Citizen Sleeper, you choose a class. Each class has an advantage in one skill and a disadvantage in another. These skills give you passive bonuses, such as letting you reroll your dice once per day, but they also grant you bonuses at different types of tasks. Having a +1 in the engineering skill will give you an advantage to any task that utilizes that skill. So for example, if one of your dice has a 3 on it, and you slot it into an engineering-related skill, the result will actually be a 4 thanks to your +1, which makes it easier to accomplish the task more successfully and gain bigger rewards, or avoid potentially devastating failures on potentially more risky tasks. There are enough drives for you to complete that you're able to essentially max out all of your skills, I think. But you can definitely do most of them, which is what I ended up doing. And that's not even taking into consideration the less stat-based rewards that you can get for completing certain drives, like the thing I mentioned before, the ability to improve your condition without the need to pay for expensive medicine. The eye is a harsh place at first glance, but if you push past that, stop looking at the broader picture and start examining the detail, you'll find human connection. That doesn't make it any less harsh, nor does it mean that Citizen Sleeper doesn't have some pretty sharp and on-point critiques of the systemic problems that plague us. But this is a game that isn't only interested in talking about the ways in which capitalism is fast-tracking us towards a nightmarish dystopia, it's also interested in talking about the ways in which we can survive it together. And it all comes together, for me personally, into one of the most powerful and beautifully written games that I've played, definitely all year, definitely this decade, maybe longer. Well, that's it for this review. Let us know what you think of the game. Did you like it? Are you in the middle? Or was it just not for you? Leave a comment down below. You know where the comments are. Or hit me up on Twitter. All the info's in the description. And I'm going to get out here because I have tons more games to play and there's not enough time in the day. So, I will see you next time.